believe in you, Unity Band. That was excellent. Well, good morning. Welcome to Unity Spiritual Center of Lansing. I'm Reverend Sharon Ketchum, and it is my pleasure and privilege to be with you here this morning to share a message, a meditation, and some wonderful music by our music team. Here at Unity, we have a mission to spiritually awaken to our oneness with God, each other, and all creation. And this is inspired by our vision statement, a vision that is shared by Unity churches around the world as we see a world powerfully transformed through a growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. And I say shared and emphasize shared because it's not like finding the right and perfect answer. It's about us understanding and honoring our own unique paths and honoring those unique paths of others wherever we are on that path. So I'd like to begin service with an ecumenical prayer as we affirm the enlightenment of the Buddha shines within us. The compassion of Christ moves through us. The power of Jehovah strengthens and guards us. The presence of Allah surrounds and guides us. Wherever we are, the Tao is, and all is God. Each week we like to take a moment to bless our neighbors. There's a lot going on in the world. I know we hold Israel and the Palestinians in prayer for continued peace. We're into day 2 now of this peace over there. We hold our neighbors in India and South America who are still dealing with a real crisis point in the COVID experience of this world pandemic. We have neighbors down the street from us that who knows what they're going through. But we know that we're all connected in the heart, so we just take a moment to just include all of our connections, those that we know and those that we don't, as we affirm that we pray right now with understanding and compassion in our hearts, no matter what the outer appearance, knowing that ultimately divine light shines through the darkest moments. We bless our essential workers, our medical community, all those that serve us, even in the direst times of need. We bless those in grief, whatever their loss, knowing that God within them is their strength. We bless our communities wherever they are, holding them in our heart, holding them in that grand idea of oneness, blessing them, embracing them with love and compassion. And so it is. Amen. And we continue in this prayer mode as we bless Unity Spiritual Center of Lansing, which is you and me. We pray for Unity Spiritual Center of Lansing as we embrace our spiritual growth. We bless the times of wandering and the times of wondering. We bless and give thanks that each path that appeared to be an end, a wall with no exit, actually was simply a redirection to a path that would lead us to a greater blessing, a greater abundance, a greater peace. We are right now living a greater expression of love, a force for good in our neighborhood and a force for good in our own lives. We are receptive to the handprint of God guiding us to a greater understanding of the fields of unlimited possibilities for each of us, new opportunities to be a meaningful light in our world. And so it is. Allah, Shalom, Amen, Namaste. This is the time we do reach out and touch, but right now, instead, we are doing Namaste. So as Winley likes to say, Namaste, no mistake. Namaste to you, Namaste to you, Namaste to your neighbors, but a great way of honoring the divine light within each of us, taking that moment to look into each other's eyes and give that energetic hug. And with that, I'm going to invite Sybil to come on up here. She's our platform assistant today, and this is the first time, so we're going to love her into perfection on this, just as you are.
Thank you. Today's daily word is faith, inspired by Jesus' words in the Gospel of Luke. If you had faith the size of a mustard seed, you could say to this mulberry tree, "Be uprooted and planted in the sea," and it would obey you. We may not be able to control what happens around us, but we are always free to choose what happens within us. Our perception determines our experience. We begin with faith. We choose to see the vibrant wholeness that is present even during illness. We open our hearts and minds to the harmony that we know is possible, even in the midst of apparent discord. When our needs appear greater than our resource, we remind ourselves all supply springs forth from the inexhaustible well of divine substance. We are reassured by remembering all situations are temporary and God is greater than every circumstance. Through our faith, we align our thoughts with the divine and believe in this truth that sets us free. Our affirmation for today is, my faith keeps me focused on God. Let's affirm that together. My faith keeps me focused on God. For the month of May, we are focusing on our core value and our daily practice of prayer. Prayer is a powerful tool available to each of us to co-create the lives of our heart's desire. It brings us into alignment with the nurturing, compassionate essence of God within us. It strengthens our resolve and lifts us above apparent circumstances to a greater understanding and a more effective course of action. Prayer can never be used up. It can never be worn out. Prayer is always accessible and never out of reach. We celebrate the magnifying power of prayer that comes when we consciously join together in prayer. Day by day, prayer is our spiritual practice, raising us above our challenges into unifying solutions. Our affirmation today is, we acknowledge, celebrate, and practice the transformative power of prayer. Let us affirm that together. We acknowledge, celebrate, and practice the transformative power of prayer. Today we are coming to you by live streaming from our new sanctuary on Washington Road. While the building is currently closed to in-person meetings, we continue to offer classes on Zoom. On Mondays at 1:30, we have a Course of Love with Lucille Olson. Thursdays at 7 p.m. is a Course in Miracles with Dan and Carol Maynard. And make a note of this, our prayer circle is meeting on a new day and time starting this week. Tuesdays from 11 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. A perfect time to take a break and join with others in prayer. As activities away from home increase, our 11 a.m. casual conversations has come to a close. One ministry team that is still very active is our prayer team. If you have prayer requests, you can make them on our website, email the church office, or make a request at our prayer service. That's on Tuesday morning. Today is our monthly town hall at 2 p.m. This is a Zoom meeting. If you need to Zoom link, go to the USCL discussion group Facebook page and email RevSharonKetchum, Reverend Sharon Ketchum at gmail.com. Board President Dan Maynard will update you on our potential date to offer the options of attending Sunday services in person. Helpers are needed to continue beautifying our Unity campus. On Tuesday, June 1st at 10 a.m., we will be prepping the women's and men's bathrooms in the Great Hall for painting. We will be taping the areas, covering the floor and fixtures with drop cloths and removing switch plates in preparation for painting. Then on Saturday, June 5th at 10 a.m., we will be gathering to paint. Please bring a stepladder, your favorite edging brush, roller handles, and extensions if you have them. We will also have some of these supplies here, including the paint rollers, paint trays, and good company. Thank you to everyone who donated gift cards for paint to help us get this project underway. If you can be a part of this project, text Sue Wrinklestern at 517-712-1522 or call the church office. Today, our soloist is Samara Vala. Thank you for coming and performing.
May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. The sun shine warm upon your face. The rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God, may God, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord cause his face to shine upon you and give you peace. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. The sun shine warm upon your face. The rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God, may God, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. May God hold you in the palm of his hand.
Oh, thank you. That was gorgeous. Wow. Nothing like music to touch your soul. It always just kind of opens everything up. I just got a message from one of our viewers that they had a little trouble hearing hearing Sybil. So there were two things I wanted to make sure you knew: is that the prayer circle has been moved to Tuesdays at 11, starting this week, and that we're starting some painting the first week in June. If you check on our website, Facebook page, and we need some help to prepare the bathrooms for painting on Tuesday, June, I think it's the 1st at 10, and then on the Saturday at 10, we're going to do some painting of the bathroom. So I hope if you have a little time, you'd like to come out and help and be part of making this our home, that you come on out. Well, it's so good to be back. Last week, as you know, you may know, I was down at Unity Livonia installing Reverend Cindy Yamamoto officially as their minister. It was her 1-year anniversary since they had hired her, but of course with the pandemic, she hadn't been in person with them only for a couple weeks since they had hired her. Everything else was virtual. And I heard Winnerly say that she got a little bit lost coming to the new place, and but she got here in time, and ironically, it must have been a Sunday where just things go off, and I had a little bit of difficulty that morning. Normally the dogs wake me up at 6:30 to be fed, and so that's kind of my alarm clock. I don't set the alarm, but that morning, for some reason, my wife heard the dogs get up and she fed them, and so I'm sleeping away, waiting for the dogs to start doing their thing, and so finally at one point she shakes me and she goes, "What time did you want to leave for Livonia?" And I said, 8 o'clock. She goes, "Well, you have 2 minutes." So Oh, and it's one of those days you got to wash your hair. And anyway, so rush, get on the road. All the way down, I'm thinking, golly, I wish I just had 20 more minutes just to get myself centered and everything. So I do make it down there, but it's rushed and crazy. And then there's a delay in starting the service because they had some technical problems and they were delayed 20 minutes. I felt so guilty. All those affirmative prayers all the way down if I only had 20 more minutes. So namaste, no mistakes. It all works out in the end. Yeah, that's fun. So we are looking at our spiritual toolbox. What do we have to help us through all of life's challenges? We have quite a few things in our toolbox. Sometimes you just don't take inventory and realize we've talked about gratitude and kindness and ecology, our eco-relationships with not only our world but with each other, trust and faith and forgiveness and release and giving and receiving. And last week, Winnerly talked about bliss, that wonderful word that reminds us of some key actions that we can take. Breathing, the B for breathing, and L, of course, love, and I, to be that inviter, that invitation, whether you're inviting help or inviting other people into your life or into an event to connect in that way. And then the two S's have a lot of wonderful words. They're sweet words. Seek and to see and to savor life. And we do those things, we do find ourselves in that emotional state of bliss because we are in the flow. We are moving in the flow. Which brings me to this week's spiritual tool. And my symbol for this, let me see, I need a little help with it, is this little drum. And this is a symbol for love. But this doesn't make a very good sound, so I've asked Steve to give me a couple heartbeats for love. Could you give me a couple heartbeats there? Yeah, we got it going. Thank you very much. It's your solo for the week. Okay. Yeah, so many times you see hearts and think of love, but I think that drum beat, you can feel it. Standing here next to Steve, and then when I played my drum too, you can actually feel the vibration. And that's the kind of love we're talking about. I mean, Valentine love, hearts and flowers and lace and all that is wonderful. Love of ice cream is wonderful, but we're talking about that absolute love, that vibration that interconnects us. And love is this wonderful, multi-dimensional expression of energy. It gives and receives at the same time. It is absolutely undepletable. You can never deplete this power of love. Even as it sends forth, it's attracting back to it. It's just a really marvelous system that has been set up. In some ways, I think of love as that harmonizing factor that takes into account all the diversity of life, all the diversity of us humans, and every form of life, the rocks, the plants, the trees, it all, and harmonizes it back into that unity without destroying the uniqueness of each expression. Love is not so much as emotion as a gift. It's one of our faculties, one of our 12 divine powers that we are born with. We don't need to do anything to have it. We just simply need to allow it to flow through us. Sometimes I think of love as UPR, unconditional positive regard. That when you can look at everything and everyone with unconditional positive regard, that is when you are in that ba-bum, ba-bum, that love flow. Seeing God everywhere and in everyone. So there was this teacher that she was one of those delightful teachers that took on some of the more difficult students within the school. And she was just brilliant at it. And she did really good work with them to really help them blossom and just grow out. And some people would say, I think you're spoiling the kids by doing that. And her favorite line was, potatoes spoil, people don't. Potatoes spoil and people don't. There is no way to spoil people by loving them too much, loving them into their full potential. There's a story about a woman that she'd been working at this company for a while, and she finally got up the courage to ask for a raise. Have you ever been in that position? Your stomach's kind of turning, and she walks into her boss's office for her appointment. She sits down and asks for a raise, and he gave it to her. She was thrilled. This was just wonderful, wonderful news. So she gets home and she just can't wait to tell her husband what happened. And she walks in and she sees the dining room and the table is all set with candles and flowers and their special plates are out. And she goes out into the kitchen. She sees him cooking this marvelous meal. And she goes, honey, I got it. I got the raise. And he gave her a kiss and they went down. They had this great celebration. And when she sat on her on the table, on her plate there was a note from her husband. And it read, congratulations, darling. I knew you'd get the raise. These things will tell you how much I love you, this whole celebration. And they had a wonderful dinner, and he's cleaning up. He took it all on. He's cleaning up the dirty dishes, taking to the kitchen. And as she stood up, she noticed a piece of paper on the floor that had fallen out of his pocket. And in it, the note read, don't worry about not getting the raise. You deserve it anyway. You know, these things let you know how much I love you. You know, a measure of love is really love without measure. Having that commitment to someone, to celebrate them, no matter what the outcome, no matter what the end result of a circumstance, just loving them for who they are. Because you can't spoil them with love. Potatoes spoil, but people don't. So in our spiritual toolbox, we have this great faculty of love within us, and there's lots of ways to express it. So the other tool I want to talk to you about today is one way of expressing love, and that is through compassion. Through compassion. Compassion is like kindness on steroids. It's not sympathy. It goes even beyond empathy. It's that ability to sit with someone without judgment, without a feeling of superiority. You know, this never would have happened to me, but I'll sit here with you in your pain. It's holding, the word compassion comes from the idea of holding the burden of another, to suffer with another. And suffer has kind of a strange connotation, so I wanted to give you an example of maybe the original meaning of suffering. So here I have this glass, and I'm going to pour some water into it. That glass right now is suffering. It is holding the water. It's not suffering in the sense of, oh, woe is me, but it's suffering in the sense that it is allowing itself to be used to be a container to hold this water. And that is what compassion is, that we allow ourselves to suffer, to be the container, to help someone else hold whatever it is that is heavy on their heart in that moment. In Psalms, there's this wonderful little verse in the 145th Psalm that says, in the heart of God exists an eternal tenderness and mercy. Compassion, that eternal tenderness. Metaphysically, we understand the idea of compassion to be a characteristic of a mixture of love and mercy combined with an understanding heart. An understanding heart, to me, is that intelligent heart. It's not just a blind love. It's a real thoughtful love. A compassionate mind sees perhaps even the error, but it doesn't mind, it doesn't condemn. It's like the story in the New Testament when there was this woman who was caught in adultery, an act of adultery, and according to Jewish law at the time, the woman was to be stoned to death. And so this crowd of men were around this woman, and they were getting ready to stone her. These were pretty big stones. These weren't pebbles. And Jesus came up and said, you know, let him without sin throw the first stone. Of course, nobody was able to throw a stone. But then Jesus went to the woman and said, no one here condemns you, but neither do I. Neither do I condemn you. Just go on your way and don't make the same mistakes. He had that compassion to be with her in the moment, unjudgmental, just being in the moment. And for those of you that know the story, it's said that Jesus wrote something in the sand as these people were gathering to stone her, and didn't say what it said, but most of us have figured it out that it said, where's the man? I never saw anybody commit adultery by themselves. So anyway, that's a little side. So compassion in action, you know, to do anything well, we need to practice it. And we all have people or groups of people or situations that we do not feel compassionate about. So I'd really invite you over the next couple of days to think about a person or group of people, movement, whatever it is, that you just do not connect with. You can feel no compassion for them. It may stir up anger or disbelief, whatever it is. And think about that group of people that you may be judgmental about. And see if you can find a different perspective of viewing them. One of my favorite has always been to picture that person as a baby, because all babies are innocent and beautiful, and know that that's part of them too. And even hateful people have good characteristics. They may love their family, take care of the family. Maybe they have a pet that they're really good with. Find that different perspective, because nobody is all of anything. Nobody is all perfect. Nobody is all evil. We are all perfectly imperfect. So find those parts that maybe do resonate with you. I guarantee you, if they're human, there's something that resonates with you, because we do share a lot of common things. And take those thoughts about that person or that group and move them to your heart. See, this is that intelligent heart, that heart mind, and let it sit there until you can find yourself feeling compassion, feeling a connection that is without judgment. Because very often, when people do something that is painful to others, it's because they themselves are in pain. Now, with people getting all these vaccines, and a lot of times with younger people, they put a Band-Aid on it. And this little boy was getting his vaccine, and he started to put a Band-Aid on it, and the boy said, "No, could you please put the Band-Aid on my other arm?" And they go, "Why put the Band-Aid there? You didn't get a vaccine." He goes, "Yeah, but if I go to school with a Band-Aid on that arm, they'll know I got a shot there, and everybody's going to punch me in it." You know, because that's what kids do sometimes. "Yeah, you got a sore spot, we're going to." So if I put it on the other arm, so they're not going to punch me there. So this boy really knew his kids at school and how they like to fool around with each other. And you know, as adults, we sometimes try to hide our pain too, putting the Band-Aid on the other arm. Because our pain, the pain I'm talking about isn't necessarily physical pain, it's that emotional pain that we kind of shove down and walk through the day with. And it reminds me of a story of this king that decided he needed a helper, a right hand. And he found the perfect man, and he's training him. And they went out to this window, look over the ledge, and the king said, "There is all the land that I rule." So his new assistant said, "So what is the one thing I need to know to carry out your orders?" The king looked at him and said, "There's only one directive. Look at the people as wounded. Each one of them is in pain over something. You don't know what it is. The wounds don't always show, but when we take that attitude, that perspective, that something is going on for each person that we encounter, we can be a little bit more compassionate towards them in our interaction. And when we discover that people are hurt, when we discover where they're hurt, that really opens the door sometimes for us really to help, to really work on a cooperative healing of whatever is going on. There is an urban legend that maybe you've heard about. There's this law firm that in New Jersey, and they opened a new office down in Baltimore, and they sent some flowers down there to them. And then they got a call from the new office, and they showed them a picture of, it was a Zoom call, showed them a picture of the flowers, and how they put a ribbon across it, and it said, "Deepest sympathies." So they called the florist and said, "Listen, you sent the wrong flowers to our new office, it says Deepest Sympathies." And the florist went, "Oh, this huge breast, because the other flowers that were being delivered that morning were going to a funeral. And it said, enjoy your new location." Whether that really happened or it's a myth, sometimes we find it difficult to offer comfort. The wrong thing comes out. We get a mixed up sentiment, if you will. There was this minister that was relatively new, and this young woman came to him very distraught, very upset, and confided in him that she was pregnant. And he was so flustered, he didn't know what to do, and he said, "Are you sure it's yours?" So sometimes we fall short in our attempts to comfort. We just can't say the right thing. And there was a friend of mine who had lost his grandson. It was an unfortunate accident. And after the funeral, the gatherings, he shared with me that what he found most comforting were those people that said to him, "Thank you for sharing your pain, and I grieve with you." Not sympathy, but that suffering that says, I will help you hold the pain that you're in. I will be that container with you. Not to tell you to get out of it, not to be sympathetic to you and thank God it's you and not me that had this loss, but to simply sit with you in that pain. There are things we just can't fix, and there are things that advice just doesn't help, but certainly being with them is wonderful. James Engel, he was a former president of the University of Michigan, and he said the secret of success is to grow antenna, not horns. To grow antenna, not horns. To be able to grow those parts of us that really sense where people are at, as opposed to the horns that are defensive and offensive in the moment. Growing antenna, not horns. This mother was out with a stroller that she had twins, God bless her, and they were about 2 years old, so they're getting a little weight on them there, and as she was out walking, they came to a hill, and she's going, boy, I'm going to need help with this one. And the twins start saying, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, the little engine that could, and that gave her that motivation to get up the hill. Oh, yeah, how we help one another. Sometimes that desire of how to help isn't always clear, but there's some wonderful stories how people have been in such pure compassion. They've made wonderful things happen. There's a story that isn't a legend, it's true. Mayor LaGuardia, he was the mayor of New York City in the 30s, and it was a pretty tough time then, 1921 or 29, the crash and everything. And he was known for being out with the people. He just had these wonderful interactions with people of all ages, all places in the city. And one night he went into night court, and he told the judge he could have the night off and he would take over at night court. And one of the first cases that came up with this was this older woman. She was kind of bedraggled, and she'd been brought in for stealing a loaf of bread. A loaf of bread. And she said, her daughter's husband had run away, her grandkids were starving, and she'd taken the bread. But the shopkeeper would not drop the charges. Now, LaGuardia, he's in this bind because this is a court of law. You have to follow the law. So the law in this case, the punishment was 10 days in jail or a $10 fine. So he said, I'm going to have to carry out, the law on this, and I'm going to fine you $10. And even as he said that, he took out a hat and put $10 from his pocket and put it in the hat. He said, and then I'm going to fine everybody in this room 50 cents for living in a city where kids can be starving to the point that somebody has to steal a loaf of bread. And he passed the hat around. There ended up being $47.50 in it, which in 1935 was a lot of money. Even the storekeeper put in his 50 cents. What a great way of showing compassion and still living within the stricture of the law. Compassion says, I see, I help, I see what's happening. Sympathy is the thing that's when we say, I see you and I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a big difference. I see you and I help. Because when we learn the difference between sympathy and compassion, that's when we really begin to make a difference. Probably one of the masters of compassion was Abraham Lincoln. There's some amazing stories about this man. And Carl Sandburg wrote this wonderful tribute to him. He said, not often in the story of mankind does a man arrive on earth who is both steel and velvet, who is hard as a rock and soft as a drifting fog, who holds in his heart and mind the paradox of terrible storm and peace unspeakable and perfect. Storm and peace. And it's said that after the Civil War, when they were trying to decide what to do with the Confederate soldiers, and General Lee had sent a note to the president asking him, what should they do? And Lincoln said, tell your men they may keep their horses. They'll need them for plowing. And tell your men they can keep their rifles. They'll need them for hunting. It said that when General Lee read that, he wept. Instead of taking everything and plundering them down into the ground into nothingness, taking everything from them, Lincoln had this wonderful, intelligent heart that allowed him to be compassionate when our country so needed compassion to begin its healing. In the Bible, Ecclesiastes, it talks about there's a time for everything under the sun. A time for sowing, a time for reaping, for harvesting. And for each of us, there is a time. There's a time for toughness and a time for tenderness, a time where we make a great resolve and a time to be compassionate. An iron will is not the same as an iron spirit. 100 years after Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King encouraged us to exhibit tough minds and soft hearts. Not the other way around, I'm sorry, to encourage us to have tough hearts and the soft toughness in the sense of that this is what we lead with, not leading with our head, not saying this is the way it has to be, but to love people into that compassion, to suffer people into that compassion, to hold that container for our allness and our connectedness. A cool head asks hard questions. A cool head thinks it through. A cool head weighs the options and says, what's the logical thing to do? We've all been there. We take great pride of ourselves. Boy, figure this one out. But a warm heart empathizes. It considers feelings and relationships. And a warm heart asks, what is my spirit asking me to do? What is my spirit telling me to do? Do you know Lincoln pardoned more prisoners than any other U.S. president before or since? So some decisions we do make with our heads and some we make with our hearts. But I think where we really need to land is both of them together in that right and perfect balance. It's like life is like a card game sometimes. It feels that way. And I look at love and compassion as kind of the wild card. When we get a hand that doesn't seem like it's a winning deal, we have this wonderful wild card that allows us to have a different perspective, to see things differently. Even when it doesn't feel like we have a winning hand, we always get to love the other person. They don't have to love us. We always get to show compassion, no matter what the other person, whatever their state is. It's our choice always to live with that ba-bump, ba-bump, that heartbeat of love and compassion. With that, we're going to take a little time of meditation to listen to our own heartbeat, to perhaps build upon a quote from Pema Chodra, who said, the root of compassion is compassion for oneself. So I invite you just to take a moment to take a deep breath, make yourself comfortable wherever you're sitting. Just rest your hands, rest your feet. Rest the muscles in your face. Just breathe in. Breathe out. Ever so gently and decidedly, allow yourself to move into the flow. That multi-dimensional expression, vibration, harmony that we call love. Breathing love in, breathing love out. Letting anything heavy on our mind to slip away. Set aside for the moment. It will still be there after if we want to pick it up again. But in this moment, let us show compassion to ourselves. Let us be generous with our kindness. Let us have that soft heart that is non-judgmental towards anything we may have thought, towards anything we may have done, even inadvertently, that weighs heavy on our shoulders. Let us suffer to release any regrets. Emboldened and empowered by by that divine vibration of love and peace within us. That vibration of oneness which honors the uniqueness not only of all life, but also of all experiences. Each a catapult in our own growth. Allow the words that I speak now to be the words of your own heart. I am one with God and all of God's creation. I am perfectly imperfect as I grow into greater capabilities, a greater capacity to express love in its many forms through compassion and connectedness. As I awaken the spiritual faculty of love, its beauty shines through me, beats through me. For love is my ability to truly desire that only good come to all. We breathe in again, feeling ourselves being the vibration of love. We know in that heart-mind that life is a song to be sung, and sung in the harmony of love. Not one note, but the many notes, the highs and the lows, the closeness and the discord. We are one. We are one with love. We are the harmony. In this moment, we can feel God's love because we are expressing as love. Let's take another breath, allowing that love to wash over us, in us, and through us, to bring a sense of connectedness to the tips of our fingers and the heels of our feet, to feel the vibration of love moving through our torso, tingling the ends of our ears. We are love, and so it is. Amen. So this week, just invites you to remember that we all have wounds. If you're going to work on anything, grow antennas, not horns. And that the simple desire to help will always help you find a way. And love all you can, because people don't spoil, only potatoes do. With that, I'm going to invite Samara back up here with one of my favorite songs. I'm so glad you chose this one. Enjoy.
Why are there so many songs about rainbows, and what's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions, and rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, said that every wish would be heard and answered when wished on the morning star. Somebody thought of that and someone believed it. Now look what it's done so far. What's so amazing that keeps us stargazing? And what do we think we might see? Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. All of us under its spell, we know that it's probably magic. Have you been half asleep, and have you heard voices? I've heard them calling my name. Is this the sweet sound that calls the young sailor? The voice might be one and the same. I've heard it too many times to ignore it. It's something that I'm supposed to be. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. La da 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 da, la da 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 da.
Time we,
Just we're gonna, oh, we gotcha. Good. Keep speaking. Let's see. Jerry's going to let me know to make sure we're hearing you. We were having a little trouble the first time. Talk.
now is the time we enter into a time of joy as we celebrate our abundance, both as a community and for each of us individually. We acknowledge that God is our source of supply, which lavishly flows to us through many channels. The Unity community, which is all of us, enjoys a stream of supply of time, talent, and treasure, which meets and exceeds any demands. We celebrate abundant resources that fulfill our every need as we co-create a new spiritual home that serves us well. Allow the words of celebration I speak to be the words of your own heart. We join in thought, prayer, and answer to bless our earthly abundance to meet all the needs of our spiritual home, even as our supply meets and exceeds our personal needs. We bless the gifts that have been given and the gifts we are about to receive, and so it is. Amen. We are very grateful for the love and offerings this ministry has received from all the members of this community, both online and through the mail. So thank you, each and every one of you who continues to so generously support this ministry during this extraordinary time. We are a tithing congregation, and it's with added celebration that we tithe of our abundance with others. Our congregants' choice for the second quarter of this year is the Greater Lansing Food Bank. They continue to do such a remarkable job responding to huge demands during this pandemic. We thank them for their selfless work and know that our gift will go forth to do great things. We give thanks for the gifts that have blessed our Unity community, as well as celebrating the gifts that have blessed our lives personally. We get to practice that spiritual activity of being in the divine flow in our day-to-day experience by acknowledging our countless blessings. Whatever we each have experienced with this week, let us take a moment to express our deep appreciation for the love, the kindness, the support, and the thoughtfulness of the blessings that poured into our lives. Let us affirm together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I praise, give thanks, and am glad. Now let us join together in our closing song, I Choose Love, followed by the prayer of protection.
Come on up. Come on up. We'll just stay a little bit apart for sin. My life is growing because I choose love. Love's always present. It's what we're made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one tie that binds us that can't be undone. I choose love. Peace on our planet is growing because I choose love. Let love be present, it's what we're made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one. One choice unites us, let this be the one. I choose love. You choose love. We choose love. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God is within us. Wherever we are, God is. Except maybe I left a line out there, but we know the gist. What do you got for us to pull me out of that mistake? Namaste, no mistakes.